Welcome along to the Big Idea Show. Today I am joined by Julia Jones and Ben Shockley. Hello.
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 You both well?
Very
Yes,
well.
good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me. You guys are from Friends of the LEAS Pavilion, and you are here to kind of give us some update on what's going on and also to have a wider discussion about kind of this idea of saving this wonderful place in history and why it's so important, but also how do we keep that momentum. So we'll be back after the titles and we'll get started.
Okay.
Welcome back. Julia Jones, Ben Shockley, in the room, in the house, in the hot seat. So let's get started, shall we? Most people are probably aware of the LEAS Pavilion and all the work that's been going on. So but for those who aren't, do you want to give us a very quick rundown, but more specifically, I want to hear an update of where things are, because am I right in that we've just passed quite a significant date in the progress of this campaign, if you'd call it a campaign?
Ben's got all his notes.
I've got all my notes here, which I obviously won't be looking at.
Okay, so is it possible to give a quick rundown, or is that we're going to take up the whole show giving a rundown?
From 1901?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I mean, what you're meaning is about the building consent that's lapsed,
Yes.
basically. Yes. Which might sound like a good idea, but we're now slightly worried what else might happen, because they could resubmit the plans and change it, and they'll either be accepted or they'll be thrown out.
Yep.
No, I guess that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
And if you saw the Herald last week, on page 3, I think it said something regarding the pavilion possibly becoming an underground car park, which was always a bit of a worry over the years. I mean, not to bore you, I actually wrote a letter to the Herald about 5 or 6 years ago and literally put, I would not want this building to become an underground car park. I hope I didn't get anyone the idea. But
Well done, Ben.
Sorry. So yes, a quick rundown of the Friends of LEAS Pavilion was created in about 2015. Our plan was to try and restore the building as back to its normal state, basically.
Glory, yeah.
But it's a bit of a fight, with various sort of factions, and we'd like it to become a kind of a community hub, really, for many people, and not just for one thing. There was an idea at one point that they wanted, I think Churchgate wanted to make it into a gymnasium or something. Now, there are a few gyms in Folkestone already.
Within a stone's throw.
Yes, exactly.
Of the building.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
2 of them.
Yeah. Yes, 2 of which are above very famous food outlets, but we won't go into that.
Yeah.
But yes, that's kind of our worry at the moment. So obviously the building, it was built in 1901, designed by Reginald Pope, who also designed the LEAS lift. It was a high-class tea rooms in the early days. First World War troops also went down there on their way to the front. And then it became a theatre for a number of years, and then it became, obviously, a lot of people know it as the LEAS Club, if people particularly who maybe moved into Folkestone fairly recently, And then it kind of closed about 2008, 2009, something like that, and it's kind of been closed ever since. And it's just a shame, because I think it's one of the last buildings of that style in the area.
Yep.
And it really should be looked after.
Yeah.
And I think it's criminal that it hasn't been.
Yeah. So you guys have been doing a lot of work in terms of building support with the community, as you say, kind of wanting it to be a community hub. But from the limited amount, and hopefully I don't get anything wrong here, but it's all coming down to the decision is with a very small number of people, right? Developers and certain people in the council. Why the importance of building the community aspect and the support aspect? If will that make a difference to those people making the decision, and if so, how?
Shall I answer this one?
Go for it.
Well, further afield and around the world, there are many projects like this, and over the past decades, a lot of buildings have been lost forever, colossal mistakes that towns and cities around the world now regret, and they realise what a disastrous move that was, because once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
That's it. You can revive a brand, but you can't rebuild a building that was built in 1901 and has got all of that history that multiple generations of the town have socialised there. You can't replace that.
Yeah.
So in most places, especially in Europe and the United States now, cities and communities are waking up. They're realising that how important these places are, and if you can bring a community together, then it does make a big difference. In some locations, they've ended up buying the property to save it.
Yeah.
So although it is ultimately down to a small group of people, I think that the world has changed, and the public voice can be very powerful indeed when you unite it.
Yeah.
So the difficulty we have with the LEAS Pavilion, I think, is that, I was saying this to Ben earlier on, that if it was on Tontine Street or above ground on the Leas, or somewhere that we passed every day, and it was like, just tragic. Look at the state of this building. We must do something about it. But it's underground, and so people drive past it. They don't see the beautiful venue that is rotting away underground. And I think that's the huge challenge we've got here, is that you've got 3 generations of people who grew up and went to see plays or music or played 10-pin bowling or played pool or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We need to remind people about it and get it back into their hearts, because if they lose it, then I guarantee that there won't be a single person in this town that won't regret it moving forward. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I guess is it also with that in mind, is it can you see, is there a particular or potential route, like you said, a whole town coming together and buying it, or is it more about putting pressure on those, or buying time because people will campaign it to mean that those developments or those things that might otherwise tear it down will get stopped? And you said about that, I'd never heard that idea of whole town could crowdfund and things like this. We have new ways of making things happen. Do you see that as a possibility, or is it more of the delaying or putting pressure on the council, say?
Well, on a smaller scale, that kind of community purchase is happening a lot now with pubs.
Okay.
And pubs are, an achievable purchase because they're a lot cheaper than something like the LEAS Pavilion, which it has got an expensive footprint because it's on the Leas. And it's got planning permission for 68 apartments or whatever it is over the top of it. So it makes it a very expensive purchase, which is more difficult than just buying the local pub. But ultimately, we need to get a conversation going with the current owner, and that's what is proving difficult.
Okay.
What we really need is the lease of them, which I know is a tricky one because obviously we don't have money. So if, you can buy leases for ridiculous, like £1 or something silly, but what they don't seem to grasp is we can get that place renovated. We can apply for grants that they can't.
Okay.
Heritage Lottery Fund, we had a few £1,000s off them. And if you have if you get a small grant, there's chances you can get the big one. And that's what we need. But they don't seem to be either grasping it or not wanting us to do it, and I don't understand why, because it's nuts. We've got so much support. We've got 30,000 people signatures online on a what's it called?
Online petition.
That's exactly right. I was trying to say. I haven't written that bit down, so I couldn't remember. And we have some very famous supporters too, which I'm going to name drop.
Okay, go for it.
I've got some written down. I won't say them all.
Wow, you've got a lot.
Well, we've got Sir Ian McKellen, we have Helen Mirren, we have George Irving, local actor, a lot of TV, film, theatre, Vic Reeves, of course, Timothy West, Joanna Lumley, the late Ken Dodd, bless him, we got a letter from him last October, Pam Ferris, Julian Clary, Joe Brand, Ken Colley, June Brown, so many, that's just a few. And talking of June Brown, that's another campaign we're going to start soon with the car stickers, shop stickers.
Yeah.
We've got her permission to have her picture on the stickers saying, June Brown says, save the LEAS Pavilion.
Okay.
And we want to give those away to everyone.
Everybody.
And members of the council too. We're going to send them to the council.
Yeah.
See, what I love about this venue is that so many people have had different experiences of it. 'Cause it was a theatre, a very well-respected theatre, and then, by the time I'd moved here, it was the LEAS Club, and so we were going there and we were listening to music and DJing, and we, playing in bands and playing pool, and having a completely different set of people that were socialising there. It's had a lot of incarnations, and now that's quite common in terms of having multiple use, a cultural venue that has a bit of this, a bit of that, and today it's this and tonight it's that, and that's now become the norm, to have multi-purpose venues where lots of people come together and do lots of different things.
Yeah, and that's something I think Folkestone, if anyone can do it, Folkestone can do it.
Exactly.
In terms of that ability. So, okay, something I wanted to specifically ask you was something from looking online and doing my homework and doing my bit of research, was about the momentum with a project like this. When you said, did you say 2015 you guys
started? That's when we started up.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
How do you keep the momentum for a project like this when, like you said, it's, you had to wait till literally yesterday, was it, about to find out what was happening, whether the planning permission extended. How do you keep people on board? Because it's all well getting people excited. Yeah, I want to support. And then nothing happens for a few months and nothing can.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, that's the difficult thing. It's keeping the ball in the air all the time, isn't it? And
we've been quite lucky with a few sort of press-worthy things, like the Victorian Society.
Yes.
It was listed as one of the 10 at-risk buildings in the UK.
Yeah.
And so that gives us an opportunity to create a buzz around it. In June, am I allowed to say this? Is this secret? About
you haven't said anything yet.
I don't think it's secret.
Okay.
The problem is you're going to have to say it for them to know what you're doing.
All right, they also Save, another heritage thing. They do a big brochure, a big catalogue each June, looking at buildings that need to be saved again, and it gets a massive amount of press. And the LEAS Pavilion is going to be a featured property in June, so that gives us another opportunity to try and get everyone out again. And you have to kind of have those seeds that you can drop in throughout the year, because it is difficult to keep something going for so long.
Yeah, and building and growing.
Yeah.
So I guess, is that the next steps, or is that the kind of opportunity, is to go, right, this is, and this, what I like is this space, from how I interpret what you said, is it's a space where we can potentially pull everyone together, but the process of trying to save it and the journey to saving it will bring people together. It will, that journey and that challenge is like, right, yeah, let's all do it. And creating things or events that keep it noteworthy, keep it press-worthy, and bring the community together in the process,
because
as opposed to the result.
There isn't a simple call to action. You see, if we could say to everyone, right, we need you to, buy this T-shirt, or we need you to buy this brick in the wall, or whatever it is, because we need to raise X amount of money, and you've got a specific goal that you can drive people towards that monetary figure. Whereas it's not as simple as that with this, because we have to, there are quite a few hurdles that have to be overcome over a prolonged period, and we don't even fully know what the hurdles are at this moment in time. So you can't ask people to do something other than keep being a friend of the LEAS Pavilion.
It's a really tricky one, but great. Sounds like you guys are doing it already. Like I said, it's a big challenge, but one that's...
You do feel like you're smashing your head against a brick wall sometimes, though, I have to say. But,
you're doing a great job at doing that and keeping up. So, after you saying it's very hard, there's not a specific goal or specific call to action, I'm now going to ask you some specific questions of call to action, even if they be broad. Okay, so I want to know what's the vision? What is your what if? I may be able to guess loosely what it would be, but how would you kind of say what if to inspire people in relation to the LEAS Pavilion?
Well, The dream would be, what if we all did manage to pull everyone together and gather some funding and bring it back into community ownership.
Mhm.
That would be the dream.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Good one. Okay. So one question you would like to ask, and I'll be nice and give you one question each if you want, or you can share. One question you'd like to ask either a group, the community as a whole, or an individual person that you'd like to put out into the world that you'd like to know more about.
Do you want me? Well, a couple really. We'd like to ask David Monk at the council and probably the planning department, do they really think it's a fantastic idea for Folkestone that it becomes a car park? Because the other thing is that what's supposed to have happened, the building was supposed to be maintained properly and brought back to life before the flats were built. That's the key thing, and of course that hasn't happened. But yes, I'd like to ask them,
Okay.
Knowing that we have such support in this area, why would you go against what the masses believe?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. Okay. And your final question, the hard one, what is the call to action? Be it something that's broad, that people can do. Anyone listening now can do.
Chain yourself to the front of the theatre? No, that's me.
That's what we're doing in July.
Yes.
I think it's basically, being a friend of the LEAS Pavilion so that you're on the mailing list. Because the hardest part today is getting the word out. Back in the day, you'd put something in the local newspaper and everyone knew about it because everyone got the local newspaper. Now you've got some people that get the local newspaper, some people listen to the radio, some people are on the Facebook page, some people are not on any of them, some of them are on a mailing list. And it is phenomenally difficult to reach everybody. So we need everyone to sign up to the Friends of the LEAS Pavilion, because then when we do have actions, we can mobilise the troops. Going back to the history of the venue, the troops, see how I got that in, and we can get everyone together and actually achieve what whatever the things are that we then know we need to do. We've got the energy and we've got the power to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So there is a very precise call to action right now, and it's just sign up.
Good stuff.
And it's free.
And where can they sign up?
Well,
I've got the details here.
You've got okay, good.
Written down, obviously. Well, our Facebook page,
Yep.
Friends of LEAS Pavilion, you can find us. We do have an email address as well, which is flpfolkstone@gmail.com, and we have a Twitter page as well, @flpfolkstone.
Brilliant. So people can sign up there, get in training, as it were, before ready to mobilise.
Yes.
When we're ready to go. Julia, Ben, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
It's
very
been great
much.
having you on the show.
thank you.
Cheers.